start the track.
I don't want much, I just want gold under my feet. I don't want much, I just want life eternally. I have this thirst, I'm in love with the King of the universe. I want to hear his voice, I want to feel his touch. No, I don't want much. I don't want much, I just want people to be free. I don't want much, I just want blinded eyes to see. But I want this first, to stand with the faithful and break the curse. I want a heart on fire, I want a healing touch. No, I don't want much.
Don't want much. Don't want much. Don't want much. Don't want much.
I don't care much for money, houses or land. Don't care for things that only slip right through your hand. But I'm so in love with you and everything you are. Just wanna live here in your heart. I don't want much, I just want gold under my feet. I don't want much, I just want life eternally. But I want this first, to stand with the faithful and break the curse. I want a heart on fire, I want a healing touch. No, I don't want much.
Don't want much.
I don't want much, no.
Don't want much.
Not so much.
Don't want
Is
much.
that too much?
Don't want much. Okay, well, here we are again. As usual, cutting it to the wire after about 4 hours of computer problems today and not being able to get certain things to work and then having to actually download the entire operating system on Dee's computer again. And it's a typical Tuesday night. And we're so silly that we're trying it live again. And boy, you've been choking and gagging over there.
I know.
See, now,
fine. As soon as we started, I'm gonna start gagging.
If we were just doing the video and then uploading it later, I'd just edit this out and we'd just play the song again. Can't do it when it's a live stream, so we just have to do the best we
live, or is it Memorex?
have to do the best we can with what we got. Yeah, why don't you say hello and say where we are and what we're doing and all that, since I don't really know.
Hello. We are in New Richmond, Wisconsin. We are in the basement of our host home, the Thamers. Doris is our first ever live audience, and she is here with us.
Pretending not to make noise. And her cat is wandering around. Pookie, the 14-year-old. She just heard me say her name,
Here,
so now
Pookie.
she's coming out. Since I said Pookie, she said, "Yeah, here I am. What do you want?"
And so we're having a good time. We've been here for a little over 24 hours. Had a great trip to Minnesota, and now we're excited about what's coming up. Tomorrow we're going to do a children's
There she is,
thing.
by the way.
Hey, there's Pookie. Tomorrow night we're going to do a thing for the kids, and they've been really pushing really hard, so we're excited about that. And we're just glad to be here live with you, choking and all.
Yes. And so, in case you didn't look at the thing beforehand, What we're doing tonight, we're going to give a tribute to a couple of singer-songwriters, and this is a really broad genre that covers a lot of stuff. If you look online, you find it goes back to I would say it probably starts really with the early blues musicians back in the 20s and 30s, and people like Robert Johnson and people like that. And then later on, you get like the Hank Williams and Jimmy Rogers, some of those country guys. But it really became the phrase really took hold in the 60s and 70s when we were talking about pretty much the folk singers and the protest singers, the Pete Seegers and Woody Guthrie and some of those kind of guys, and then got into it was a really kind of a folky thing at first. Joan Baez, of course, her protege, probably the most prolific of all the singer-songwriters, Bob Dylan, and everybody's recorded Dylan songs. And the thing that was cool, I guess it makes them stand out. Before that, in rock and roll anyway, there were a lot of people who were just singers. You had of course, there was the Elvises and the Pat Boones and all those kind of guys. Even Ricky Nelson didn't write a lot of his songs. Most of them didn't really write a lot of their songs. But by definition, a singer-songwriter generally is somebody who composes the music, writes the lyrics, and generally they'll just play an instrument, a piano or a guitar. And so it makes it. They're people who actually. They're not necessarily wanting to be stars. They're trying to show off the songs. The songs is what's important to them, and the meaning of the songs and the lyrics, and sometimes
the message. Yeah.
Yeah, the message. Yeah, the meaning, the message. Sometimes the messages are hidden down in there, and but it's all about the song with these kind of people. And I read lists today this morning before I started trying to work with all the stuff that turned into all these problems. I read so many lists of singer-songwriters, and the two I want to do were not on any of those lists. So just goes to show that some people just don't have good taste. But the two I want to do, we're gonna do a couple of them tonight. Really, the truth is, this is another thing I could probably do. I could go for weeks and weeks just doing singer-songwriters. There's been so many of them, and I think they're really important to the culture because they're the ones that generally speak to issues and so on. But I'm going to do just a couple of not so serious kind of songs. And the first one is by somebody, I heard this song in the 60s. This guy was around in the 60s writing, and nobody really heard of him much at all until he had one hit in the 70s that was called Short People. And but he really became famous when he did a song for the Toy Story movies. He did a song called "You Got a Friend in Me," and that was Randy Newman. And he's just a really amazing songwriter. And this is a song. He can be, yeah. But this is not. He wasn't being funny with this. This is a song. Oddly enough, I first heard this song recorded by another guy who was really a singer-songwriter, but he was doing somebody else's song. That was a guy named Alan Price who had been in the Animals. And then the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band put it on their album called Uncle Charlie and His Dog Teddy. And it's a song that I really like, and we don't get to sing it very often. I do it sometimes just because I like it, because it was never really a single or a hit or anything like that. But, I forgot to tune this thing. Usually, when I don't get ready at like 8:57, I take time to tune my guitar before the show. But at 8:57, I had to go wash out one of my contact lenses. But anyway, I'm just wasting time, killing time here. Huh?
We're just old folks.
Yeah, we're just old folks hanging around. Don't subscribe if you don't want to hear us just sit around and act like a couple of dummies. Here we go. My harmonica's on upside down.
Would you like some help with that?
This happens sometimes. Now, for those of you that don't know about harmonicas, there's two things you got to know. One is you have to have a different key You can't just play one harmonica. If a song's in a different key, you have a different harmonica, and you always want to have it with the high notes over here, and the low notes over here. So when I put it on like this, imagine if you turned your keyboard upside down, you wouldn't have the right notes. Once again, we're doing it live, so I can't edit this part out. The milk truck pulls the sun up. The paper hits my door. The subway shakes my floor. And I think about you. Time to face the cold and gray of another lonely day. 'Cause baby, it's so hard living without you. And it's so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard living without you. Now everyone's got something, they're out trying to get some more. They got something to get up for, but I ain't about to. Nothing's gonna happen, and nothing's gonna change, 'cause baby, it's so hard living without you. And it's so hard, it's so hard, you know it's so hard living without you. And it's so hard, it's so hard, you know it's so hard living without you. Oh, man.
Okay, Doris is over there. She's got an applause sign. So I wish I had it here to show you. Time to clap.
That song's hard for me to sing. It's just such an emotional song.
I love it. It's haunting. Isn't it haunting?
And I don't know what it means. To me, I think of he's lost someone. Maybe she's died. I can't live without you. I don't know. But anyway, really tough one. Well, I think one night we did do some John Sebastian songs. John Sebastian, for those of you who don't know, was the lead singer, founder basically of the Lovin' Spoonful. As I heard this story, he came along around 65 or 6 or something like that, and the record company wanted to sign him up, but at that point they weren't really signing singer-songwriters or single guys. You had to be in a band because you had to be like the Beatles or something. You had to have a band. And I don't know if this story's true, but that's what I read or heard somewhere, that the record company said you got to have a band. So they put together a band. It was a good band, and the band was quite different in a lot of ways because they were always, everything they did was really up-tempo and feel-good music. And I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It was good stuff that I really enjoyed, and most of it stood the test of time real well. And this is a song that he recorded in the Lovin' Spoonful, but then when he left the Lovin' Spoonful and went out on his own, he also recorded an acoustic version of this. And one thing I was going to do today, I was going to go online to see if I could find John Sebastian playing this live, so I would kind of get an idea how I'm supposed to do it. But we didn't have time, so I'm just going to do it the way I do it. I think can you grab me that thumb pick off of there? I need to try this with a thumb pick rather than with a flat pick.
John Sebastian is one of my favorite songwriters of all time.
It's magical.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just everything about his lyrics are so well crafted and so I don't know, so I don't want to say cerebral. It's not like they're out there. They're really down home, but everything about them, it just fits. It's just real life. It's just, they're crisp, they're tight. I think he's one of the best examples of a craftsman at the songwriting trade. Someone who really takes the time to do it right. And I think he came from a musical family.
Yeah, his father was a harmonica player. Apparently, he was in a group that some people may have heard of called the Harmonicats. They were huge, hugely successful. I think it was like in the 40s and stuff. And there was a whole bunch of guys. And I remember hearing stuff by the Harmonicats, and I think his father was on there. I guess it shouldn't have surprised me then that he also played harmonica. I went to see him one time when the Lovin' Spoonful broke up, and he came out with his solo album. I was working in a record store at the time, and these record label guys would come around, or these, what do you call them, the distributor guys would come around trying to get you order up stuff. And so they would always bring free tickets. So I got to see a lot of bands for free. And I went to see John Sebastian, and the record guy had said, oh, he's got a new band. He's going to be bringing his new band. I was, oh, I got to see his new band. I went there, and it was in like a sports arena with maybe 6,000 or 7,000 people, and I got there and I didn't see any instruments set up on the stage, and I started getting nervous. And then he just walked out with his guitar, and I went, "Oh man, I wanted to see him with his band." And he proceeded for the next 90 minutes or whatever to just totally mesmerize. He was so amazing on stage, and you felt just like he was just singing to you. He was just singing to you. He was so good on stage, and then he finished. And we gave him this big standing ovation. He came back out, and he didn't have his guitar. And I thought, what? Are we just going to say thank you, good night? And he pulls out his harmonica, and he just started playing this amazing harmonica virtuoso thing. And until then, I didn't know how good he was. And so this was a song from Lovin' Spoonful and from John Sebastian, but he's one of our favorite singer-songwriters. It's called She's a Lady. And since, again, I didn't have time to rehearse this just before the show, let's hope it works. Unlike everything else so far.
It will.
She's a lady, and I chance to meet her in my scuffling days. She's a lady, hypnotized me there that day. I came to play in my usual way, floating along with the whimsical twinkling in her strange blue eyes. Linger with me, she said yes, and oh, my heart did fly. She's a lady, give her time, for she's allowed to change her mind. She's a lady, happy to say she once was mine. Only sometimes I remember old times. And when she says, can you guess, it's a dress you won't believe. Can you come zip me up and button up my sleeve? Oh, lady, lady of ladies, I remember days that felt like it was raining daisies.
You know what I just noticed about those two songs?
Yeah,
It's like,
I do notice.
Yeah. Did you notice, or did you?
No, I just now noticed that you noticed.
Oh. Well, it's amazing because it's like two guys in exactly the same situation.
Yeah.
Each of them lost someone, and they have a totally different attitude about the loss.
Which
Right?
says something a lot about the men as songwriters. And you'll find Randy Newman doing all kinds of cynical stuff. He did a song during the 2008 election called "I'm Dreaming of a White President."
Totally sarcastic, of course.
And John Sebastian can do stuff that's funny too. He does humorous songs. I remember they did a song about bald-headed Lena. Bald-headed Lena, has anybody seen her? cute as she can be. She got a cue ball head that's hard as lead, but she's all right with me. So he also had a sense of humor, but um, yeah, we like him. We like them both. We like them both, and well, there will probably be parts 2 and 3 and 4. We'll probably do more singer songwriters because the truth is, I mean, that's kind of
material there.
yeah, and the truth is that's kind of the category that we fit into, really. I'm not a great musician. I'm not a great arranger or producer or anything. And I've thought about this many times. That the strength, our DNR, our strength is our songwriting. And then, I mean, that's what we do best. I don't mean we do better than everybody else. I mean, but of the things that we do, writing is what we do best. And usually we're like this, just with a guitar. So that puts us in that same category as a singer-songwriter. And have we used up much time yet? I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter. Did you want to say anything about the week? We had another week. We are on the road, And
Yeah.
so
Well, I thought it was pretty cool because we just came from Duluth. Well, Duluth was the last addition to our schedule. It kind of like fell together only like 2 or 3 days before we actually left Texas, right? And
otherwise we had this big gap in between.
there was we were even thinking about changing the dates for Biwabik to pull it back so we wouldn't have a whole like
week and a half in between
empty. But then Clyde from Biwabik made this call to his friend in Duluth, and when he called me to say that we had a date on that Sunday, he said, like, this guy says he knows you. So we, that's interesting. That's interesting. So we get there, and lo and behold, this guy named Rolf Fury, the wonderful pastor, been a pastor of Duluth Gospel Tabernacle since 1997. When we were in Agape Force, just older teenagers, young adults, he was a teen that came to a place called Gospel Ranch in northern Minnesota. And he was impacted by Barry McGuire and the Message and the tour team and the Unchoir and us and our band. And he eventually went out to California to go to a discipleship. Him and his girlfriend went out to California to go to a discipleship school out there with the Agape Force. And it's like 40 years? 44 years. 44 years. It's 44 years, almost exactly. So it turned out to be this incredible serendipity kind of really fun time. We had a good time doing a concert on Sunday night, and
you can comment on that because you said you thought it was different from the week before.
I don't know. Every time is different, isn't it? You can. Up in Biwabik, we had a great time at building relationships. We had a fun concert, and last Sunday night we did a concert. We even did a lot of the same songs, but it seems like I think it has to do with the audience. I think it has to do with the people you're singing to, and that change it. The personalities in the audience change it. I don't know, and but it's been a really interesting, fun time seeing people we haven't seen in a long time, renewing relationships and new friends. So
now, before she introduces the last song, I just want to say that the pastor in Biwabik, Clyde Harvey, asked if he could get the words and the chords and everything for this song so they could have it on for their worship team. And I was thinking I'm going to have to go make a video of it, and then because they don't have any way to hear it, they just heard us play it, and so I'm going to have to make a video of it. I'm going to have to go and give them lyrics and chords and all that. So I think what I'm going to do now, I'm just thinking as we're sitting here, we'll do it tonight, and then I'll go in and I'll just cut off the last song. I mean, I'll pull it out, and I'll make a separate video. It'll still be on here, but I'll make another video of that, and then I can put the lyrics and the chords on there. So Clyde, when you guys, when this one's up, you and your cough.
I'm sorry.
When we get this all edited up, I'll let you know, and then you can teach whoever. Jane, of course, will need to learn. It'll be easier for her to learn. Jane's his wife. She's the pastor's wife. She plays the piano and leads the music and all that.
She's primo.
So, so is that it? Or no, you wanted to introduce the song.
Yeah. You know, when I was a kid, I was raised in church, and as wonderful as it was, you know, my first memories were like falling asleep under the pews during prayer meetings. Sunday night services would go on, and prayer times would go on. And as a child, I spent a lot of time in church, spent a lot of time with God's people. It was wonderful in so many ways. And as I grew up, the Lord did so many things for me. At kids camps, at youth camps, different times. But at that same time, as that was happening, there was these, whether they were imposed or whether they were internal, there was this list, this, what it meant to do what you're supposed to do, to, in our culture today, nice is the new good. Like, yeah. And that can kind of speak for itself, but we have this impression that when you're supposed to love everybody, that you're supposed to like everybody too. You're supposed to be mushy with everybody. You're supposed to never be grumpy. You're supposed to always, that there's these perceptions that we get as we grow, and especially in church culture, where it's not okay to ever be in a bad mood. It's not okay, and there's certain ways to dress, and there's certain ways to talk, and there's certain ways to, and as the years go and go and go, pretty soon there is this huge mountain of shoulds and oughts, this huge mountain of expectations, and some of them are self-imposed because of our perception of what personal perception of what it means to be like Jesus, and our desire to be accepted by a group that kind of looks a certain way and talks a certain way. And so there's pressure to conform. And then there's pressure from other places, like sometimes our families and things, to behave certain ways, and some of these are godly and some of these are totally tradition and culture. And so when I got to be an older teen, I remember things just came to a boiling point, critical mass one time. And I remember kind of coming home from something and throwing myself on the floor on my orange shag carpet in my room and crying out to God and just saying, I can't do it all. I can't love everybody. I can't be nice all the time. I can't pay attention to every single person that people think I should pay attention to. I can't always be up. I can't always be happy, even when I'm not. I can't always, And so I just started pouring out my heart to God about my inability to live up to my own expectations. And the Lord spoke to my heart that night, and he says, and this is crazy because, it's God speaking to you when it's not the way you would think that he would. And in my spirit, I heard, okay, tell you what, how about you just love me? You take all that love that you think you're supposed to give everybody else, and you don't worry about that. You just love me. Focus it all on me, and I'll give you something different instead. And so I really didn't know what that meant. I seriously, I didn't. Now I think, oh, that's really obvious. But it wasn't obvious to me that night. He was giving me permission to just love him. That's the only person I had to love. There wasn't enough of me to go around, so he just said, that's all right. You're just mine. And so I went through those motions, and I just said, okay, Lord, it's just you. I can't love anybody but you. I can't listen to anybody but you. Lord, if there's 100 people in a room, there's 100 different ways people expect me to be. And So as I did that, um,
When you told me that story, I thought you said, he said, just love me and I'll take care of the other, or I'll love them, or something along that line.
yeah, that's essentially what he was saying. I
Yeah.
will get, I will. You just love me, and I'll love them. And I don't remember the exact words. It was a very long time ago. But as I did that, suddenly there was this incredible release and sense of peace that came. And seriously, not once since that day have I ever had any difficulty loving people. Not even difficult people. Sometimes I don't like them because now I have a different perceptions about what it means to love people. And that was part of that growing process. But really, I got so much. He just gave me his love. I gave him mine. He gave me his. And that's what I'm supposed to give to other people. And I don't have to live up to everybody's expectations. I just have to please him. And so it's made a huge difference in my life. And this song really is about that. As our singer-songwriters and messages and things, this song is kind of my way of saying, there's only one person I need to please. There's only one thing I need to do. I don't have a big list. I just have one thing.
You ready then?
Yep. Let me worship you. Let me worship you. Oh, in my whole life, there's only one thing I must do. Worship you. Worship you. Let me worship you. Let me worship you. Oh, in my whole life, there's only one thing I must do. Worship you. Worship you. I will worship in the morning as I ready for the day. I will worship as I travel and go along your way. I will worship when I work, and I will worship when I play. In everything I do, in everything I say, let me worship you. Let me worship you. Oh, in my whole life, there's only one thing I must do. Worship you. Worship you. I will worship on the mountain when you help me to succeed. I will worship from my prison and my heart will still be free. I will worship in my joy and I will worship in my pain. Standing in the sun, walking in the rain. Let me worship you. Let me worship you. Oh, in my whole life, there's only one thing I must do. Worship you. Worship you. Let me worship you. Let me worship you. In my whole life, there's only one thing I must do. Worship you. Worship you. Well, thank you, everybody. We've gone a little over 30 minutes. I hope it didn't cut anything off.
Yes, thank you again, and don't forget to keep trying to get people to subscribe and like, thumbs up, and all that stuff, so we can get our videos over on the side, so when people will find us without even trying. So just make it easier for them. That's it. We're gonna stop this video and see if it took this time. And we got several things going this week. And then where are we next Tuesday? Do you know?
We will be in Wanaki, Wisconsin next Tuesday.
Okay. Well, that's okay. That's with Leonard then.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sure he'll have great internet and everything will work just fine next week. So hopefully we'll be able to do another live stream next week. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and that's that for that.
Bye.